Hello everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. Today we are back in Imagimorphia by Kerby Rosanes and we are going to continue on with our nameplate page. Now I know it's been a week or two since we've been in here, so just a quick reminder. We were working on our turquoise ring the last time. All I have done since the last video is complete the turquoise section, but I have also gone in and filled in any background spaces. Now if you remember, I took the cream as the background for the yellow section, and then when I moved into this green section I took a yellow pencil to use in behind the green. So I've done exactly the same thing, it's like a step behind. So in the turquoise section I have taken one of the greens to use as the background, and you can see it most clearly down here, so I'm going to zoom in for you so that you can see what the heck I'm talking about. There you go, so that's a bit more, it probably explains it better than me trying to explain it. So you can see here where the turquoise is, it's got the green background, and that was one of the paler greens. I think it was spring green from this green part of the ring. Today we are moving on to a blue section, and I have picked my blues very carefully. There is a reason for it, but just before I get to them I want to recap on the turquoise colours we used, because we may need to use them to blend in with our blues this time round. So just a quick go over, we have Aquamarine PC 905, Light Aqua PC 992, Parrot Green PC 1006, and finally Cobalt Turquoise, which is PC 105. And it's so nice to be able to show you this because the last time the pencil was minute and in the pencil extender, so I have a new one today. Okie dokie, the blues that I've picked for a very specific reason, and I wanted to get that balance of more sort of green type blues as well as more purpley blues, because the next string after the one we're going to start on today is going to be purple, so I don't want it to stick out too much. You know, the colours still have to kind of go together. So for that reason I have picked True Blue PC 903, Cerulean Blue PC 103, Cobalt Blue Hue PC 133, and finally Violet Blue, which is PC 933. So that out the way now, I'm just going to give this a quick sharpen and we're going to get down to it, because I would like to get through as much of this section as possible, and I don't think we're going to manage as much as we did with the turquoises because it is a much bigger ring. Alright, so we'll start down here, just the kind of spot that I've been starting at throughout. And I'm just going to get going and I'm going to start with the True Blue. So same rules apply here, nothing different, nothing particularly exciting, which is why I don't feel as if I have to complete every single section on camera, because I'm using exactly the same technique. And this is one of the things that makes it a little bit more manageable for those of you who feel slightly overwhelmed. So that is the idea behind it. This little guy I'm so pleased this little guy's got eyes now, it makes me feel much better. This pencil that I'm using just now, the Cobalt Blue Hue, I have a really off-centre core. See if I just hold that up, can you see how wonky that is? And what's happening is that it gives you a kind of weird off-centre sharpened point, so I have to sharpen this a lot more than my other pencils. Which is it's a bit annoying, but I know there's been a few quality issues with some of the Prismacolors since they've changed to being manufactured in Mexico, but I have to say generally I don't have a huge problem with them. Most of mine have been okay, which is nice. So this is my more purpley blue here. You can see I would actually say it's purple, it's not blue, but yeah, we'll take it. It's nice to get that variation in the blues. Now just bear in mind that when you're working towards your pencil line here, lighten up your pressure a little bit, because you are going to be blending that in with something else at a later stage. So that's quite important that we think about that. So we had to make an emergency trip to the vet this morning, which was not fun. Our little Jack Russell Woo, she's 14, and apart from being a little bit stiff, she's in reasonably good health, and she has developed a polyp in her ear. Now, a polyp is just basically a big sort of fleshy mass. And apparently they're very common in dogs with small ear canals, and that includes the breed, the Jack Russells. So we had a chat with the vet about it when we found out about it because she ended up with an infection in her ear, and that was when we found out that she had this polyp growing. So you can operate on them, but it is major surgery if it goes down into the ear canal, and it has to be done at a specialist vet centre. You know, you can't just go to your local vets and like it's a 2-minute job. So we decided that because of her age and the fact that even if she were to have that operation, there is no chance that they can't guarantee that it won't grow back or that it won't fix the problem that's there. So it's really risky surgery for possibly no return, and just because of her age we decided that we're not going to put her through that. Now, they can be managed with a low dose of steroids, which she has responded beautifully to. And again, if she had maybe a longer lifespan in front of her, we would have looked at other options, but we made the decision that because of her age we would just leave her be. So that's the kind of backstory to it. And her polyp covers quite a large chunk of her ear hole, and we thought it was making her quite deaf. It's like someone putting their hand over your ear, and we realised that it's just old age selective hearing, because she can be asleep 2 rooms away, and the minute you open a ham packet in the fridge, like cold meat, she is at your feet. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with her hearing. Anyway, I digress. She has, because this polyp sits over her ear hole, she's much more prone to infections in it, because it sort of harbours any bacteria, it gets trapped underneath it. And so we regularly bathe her ears for her and just give them a little clean out to stop any dirt building up and, reducing that chance of getting an infection. So I'm in her ears like every other day. And she's quite happy for me to do it, because I think it's, it's like getting a good scratch. She quite enjoys it. So that's absolutely fine. And I'd cleaned her ears the other day and everything was okay. And she hasn't had any infections since we've started bathing her ears for her, which is great. So the polyp is there, but it's just kind of sitting there not doing anything. And I went to clean her ears this morning, and the only way I can describe it is it looks as if the polyp had exploded inside her ear. There was just stuff, it was swollen, it was black, and it was bleeding, and I was like, oh my goodness, what's happened to my dog here? And I phoned the vet straight away, and I said, the only way I can describe this is it's like it's exploded. I said, but it's bleeding, it's not as if it's infected, there's no like pus coming out of it. That charming conversation to be having, isn't it? And I took her straight in, and it turns out what has happened is she has had a trauma to her ear, and I figured out what that trauma was. A day ago, yesterday, we went out for our WALK, can't say it out loud because I've got 3 of them in the room, and Pip collided with Woo. They were just running about, and it was no one's fault, it was an accident, but she smacked straight into her, and she's obviously smacked her ear, and that has caused it to like rupture kind of thing. So this poor little dog, now she's not in any pain, you can poke at it and things and she's not bothering, but it's just really disgusting, and it's irritating her rather than hurting her. So we went to get it checked out, and that's what the cause of it was. So we've now got her on some antibiotics, and it's more to stop her getting an infection in it, and the vet wants to try and let it heal on its own for a few days and see how it goes. So yeah, that's just delightful. And another vet bill, lovely, just what we wanted. But yeah, that was quite, I was quite stressed out about that this morning, because her ear was absolutely fine. And when the polyp is not infected, or when it's just there, it's just like a pale pink kind of colour, and it's just like a little bump inside her ear, but that it doesn't belong there, if you know what I mean. It's not like a bumpy part of her ear. I don't know if anybody's ever seen inside a dog's ear. If you have dogs yourself, you'll know this, but there are lots of little sort of notches and nodules and lumps and crevices in a dog's ear, and it's sometimes quite difficult to tell what's meant to be there and what's not. But obviously with this happening, I am very aware of the landscape inside Woo's ear, and it looks horrendous. So, but one of the things the vet did say was that because it has swollen so much, it's actually cut off the blood supply to itself, because it's blocking our entire ear canal just now because it's swollen. And the vet said to me that that might actually work in its favour, because it could actually end up dropping off by itself because it's got no blood supply to it. So that would be interesting, or even if part of it was to come away, it would actually be beneficial for Woo. So yeah, that was this morning's excitement. I was like, oh good grief. We're trying to move cows this morning as well, and I was waiting on the vet phoning me back to see if we could get an appointment. So I'm standing in the middle of a road waving my arms about trying to get cows to go into a field, and my phone's ringing in my pocket, and I was just like, no, happy Friday. Just one of those days today. But we've quietened down a bit now, which is nice. So that's about as much excitement as I ever want in a day. Here as well. Oh, I feel like I've got a wobbly core here. Oh no, we're on it just now. Maybe I imagined that. I don't know. I don't think I imagined it, but yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of wondering what to do with this butterfly. I think I'll have, because I was really heavy with this pencil in this part here, I think I'm going to do the same round the outside with this darker sort of purpley blue. I just feel like that's what should be happening. And I'm just going to kind of wiggle a little bit over the turquoisey part. It's not going to be a perfect blend because they are very different colours, but if I can just sort of soften that up into there, that looks okay. Yeah, it looks okay. And then I can use maybe one of the paler colours here for, oh, I think that's supposed to be coloured in there. For the body, looking good. And then we can flick this up here. Yeah, there are some like transition points in this picture where you're not going to get, you know, perfectly seamless blends, and it's just, as I've said before, it's just because it's a busy picture. There's not a huge amount you can do about it, but we're really going for the overall feel of the picture rather than nitpicking, because it is far too busy to be nitpicky with something like this. I'm going to give this little Kerby creature some eyes. We'll find a fine liner again. Oh, the choices. I think I'm going to have to use my little teeny weeny skinny one. I never gave my dinosaur an eye either. Yay. Oh, I've made him look a bit cross-eyed. I'm going to do this little guy down here as well. We'll have him looking up, seeing as he's all the way down at the bottom. There we go. Oh, there's another one here. I keep finding them now. Go, there's another one. There's another one. There we go. Right, we'll leave the rest of them just now. Okay, carried away doing an eyes. You'll have a whole hour of me putting eyes on things. I do think that this particular circle that I've drawn, you know, this ring, is a bit wonky. So I am not sticking rigidly to my pencil lines. Just because I don't feel as if they were maybe as accurate as they could have been. But that is just something that comes from eyeballing something like that. If anybody was patient enough to use a compass, then yours will probably look a little bit better, I would think. Now, do I want these two the same colour, because they are kind of the same thing? Yeah, let's do that. I went to the opticians the other day as well. That's something that doesn't creep round very often, but it was one of those things that I knew I was due an appointment, but I just hadn't quite got round to it. So I made an appointment and I went and got my eyes tested, and I don't have any issues with my eyes. I do have one eye that is weaker than the other, and I'm aware of it, but it's not enough to be a problem. So it's just a case of making sure that the difference between that eye and my other eye hasn't changed too much, and it hasn't at all in 2 years. So I was like, oh yay, good. Excellent. Because I mean, now I'm spending a lot more time in front of a screen, which even this time last year I wasn't doing as much of. Aside from the aside from the like the farmy stuff with Mr. Jem, I am an agricultural consultant, but there was a period of time where I was very limited on hours with that. It was only a couple of hours a week, and I used to go out and take milk samples from farms as part of my job as well, which it doesn't pay as well, but it's quite good because again it's very part-time hours because you're going during milking time, so really early in the morning and sometimes in the afternoon as well. So I was actually doing that as well. I don't know if you all heard that noise. There was a clatter there, and I think that might have been the scroller box for this month dropping through the letterbox. I'm gonna go find out. I'll be back in a minute. It was the scroller box, and it sounds very broken. Yeah, there's things rattling about in there. Obviously, this is no kind of sneak preview because this video is scheduled to be out way after scroller box unboxing, so don't get yourselves excited. You're not seeing anything that you won't have already seen if you watch my videos. Man, I'm confusing myself. Anyway, let's get back to what we're doing here. Yeah, so optician was all good. That was fabulous. I've also been to the dentist this week as well. It's just like a week for appointments. I've been a busy girl this week. Busy girl. But I would rather be busy. I like being busy. Busy is fun. Because it makes you appreciate your time to relax a bit more. So after this, I have to take my canines out. We're going for a WALK. And when I take them, I am going to go down to the pond, which is one of my favourite places to go, because I was down earlier when I was moving cows and I think our swans have had their cygnets. So I'm going to go down and just have a little peek and see what I can see without disturbing them. The dogs are pretty good. Like you can keep, because you can walk all the way around the pond, you can keep quite far away from them and still see what's going on. So I'm sure, because both the parents were out on the pond when I went past, and normally because they've been hiding away, like both of them had disappeared for a day or two. So the fact that they're back out, I think they've probably got their cygnets with them. And I just love them when they're tiny. They're just these little grey balls of fluff. They're so cute. And it's great. They just like plonk themselves into the water and off they go. That's really nice. And the parents, like swans are so attentive as parents. You know, they stick by them like glue to make sure obviously that they're protected in one thing and another, but they're just so cute. But say last year the same breeding pair come back every year, and last year they lost every single one of their cygnets. For a while they just had one. They'd started off with 7 and they just disappeared one by one. And I'm sure I've said this before, I don't know if I've talked about it when I've been doing this Chatorial, but they just diminished number by number, like one at a time. And the water levels here were really low last year because it was a very hot summer, and I think that it's got to a point where the fox maybe hasn't been frightened to go into the water to try and fish them out, or something, you know, something like that. I think it's probably something along those lines. So I'm quite keen to kind of keep an eye on them. And they're not, normally, I mean, they're not aggressive at all. They're very used to me, obviously, going back and forth, and I just keep a very safe distance from them because I don't want them feeling threatened, but also I don't want anything to happen to my dogs. So, but Pip decided it would be a good idea to try and have a do with one of them. One of the first times we went down, and I just said to her, I was like, Pippi, no, that's just not a good idea. That's, you know, no, just come here, come on. And she kind of looked at me as if to say, but it's moving and I want to chase it. It's like, no, just no. So managed to deter her from that. But she's actually quite fearful of various species until she can figure them out. To begin with, she would bark at the cows, bark at the calves, bark at the sheep, definitely bark at the llamas. She likes barking at the llamas. And as time's gone on, as she's getting a bit older now, she's starting to calm down. If she doesn't see them and she gets startled, she'll bark, but then she realises it's them and she just kind of stops and watches them. And with the sheep now, she just stands and looks at them, and she started to kind of like follow them round a little bit. Like if they, you know, if they disappear off to one side of the field, oh, she, you know, Pip's going to follow them along the fence line as much as she can, which is a really good sign that she has an interest in them. So it's only going to be another month or so, and the lambs are getting a lot bigger now as well, which is really helpful. So in a month or so we are going to start taking her out and we are going to start training her, which is just going to be delightful. She is just this like barrel of energy all the time. She cannot do anything gracefully or gently. The only thing that she does gently is give you a paw. When you ask her for a paw, you know, when she's sitting down, she sort of very gingerly places it on your hand very delicately. And it's the only thing she does like that. Everything else, she's like, the expression my grandmother would use is she's like a bull in a china shop. You know, she just comes in and like, she's like a one dog wrecking machine, which it's usually someone ends up getting injured and it's usually me or poor Woo with our ear. And it's partially the enthusiasm of youth, which is very, very, very prevalent in collies, but I think it's just part of her nature as well. I do think she's just one of those dogs. Now, funnily enough, Mist, our old dog, she was like that as well. She couldn't do anything gracefully or quietly. And but the good thing about it was you did get that complete commitment from her. You know, if you asked her to do something, not only was she going to do it, but she was going to do it really well and really quickly and really fast, and you know, with all of her energy. So that has a plus side and a downside, especially when you're working with livestock. So I have zero idea how this is going to go when we get her out, but I have to very, very frequently remind Mr. Jem about all the other dogs that we've had, because he loses his patience very quickly and he has a very short memory. When we first got Jock, now Jock was 16 months when we got him, and he was what we would call half broken, as in he'd been half trained. He wasn't, you know, 100% there yet, but he had basic commands, and you had control of him with basic commands, which is an excellent place to have a dog at that age. And he was very calm going around the sheep, but we realised that was part of his nature because he's quite a timid dog. Anyway, I digress. And, oh, I've come too far down here, dagnammit. I'm going to have to erase this. It's getting carried away there talking about my dogs. Now, thankfully, that's going to be purple that's going over there, so that's not going to cause us too many problems, I don't think. I can't actually see my pencil line. Oh, here it's here. Okay, I'll just leave that bit as it is. So yeah, Jock was in a really good place when we got him, but even at that, when you're doing more sort of complicated manoeuvres with a young dog, it's it doesn't always go according to plan, and they're just like humans, they're not machines, so they are not consistent, and the consistency comes with age, and even then sometimes they can't be bothered, or they don't want to, or they think that they know better. So that's one of the funny things about working with you know, having animals as your you know, your colleague. But yeah, there was many times where Mr. Jem would come in the house, and you know, he'd been working with Jock, and he'd come in and say, "I'm sending this dog back. He's useless. You can't do anything with him." And it was really funny, because he used to say that about Mist as well. And our other male dog that we had before Jock, who was called Moss. I must show you guys, I know a lot of you are right into this, but I must show you a picture of Moss. Moss was the traditional sort of border collie markings, but he had the bluest eyes I have ever seen. And they were, oh, they're like one of these colours, really blue eyes, and he was lovely, but he was stupid. He was so stupid. Anyway, I digress yet again. And yeah, so it takes time to work with a dog, and we haven't had a young dog in that situation since Jock was young. Now Jock's nearly 7 now, so you can see why I want to be gently reminding Mr. Jem that he is going to have to be patient with Pip. Not to mention the fact that she is, you know, like a little pocket rocket at the best of times. So it's going to be entertaining. And Mr. Jem will do, like, I've started basic training with her, and it's actually gone really well so far. But when it comes to the more complicated stuff, it's important that Mr. Jem takes her out because she spends most of her time with me. And what we find happens with that is you end up with a dog that will only work for one person. So it's important that Mr. Jem takes the reins for a wee while and takes her out and starts to really work with her and, you know, do a lot of sort of trust exercises and commands and things with her, so that she can learn to be as obedient with him as she is with me, because at the moment she is not. She does as she's told reasonably well with me now, which is really, really nice. But, and there's always the but, sometimes if Mr. Jem asks her to do something that she doesn't want to do, she comes and hides behind me, as if to say, I'm not doing it. If I come and hide here, then I won't get made to do it because my mummy will protect me. So that's still happening sometimes, not very often, but it is still happening. So we need to get on top of that in terms of working with sheep. But it's also a really good chance for Mr. Jem to build a really good relationship with her. I'm just going again. This is because I'm talking too much. I might have to shut up for a little while. So that's where we're at with Pip. But I can't believe how quickly she has got to the stage that she's at. I mean, I really hate the puppy stage. Like, I hate puppies. I don't have the patience for them. I really, really don't. I am not a patient person, believe it or not. I'm patient with some things, but the puppy stage, especially like the really tiny puppy stage, I detest it with a passion. I have never enjoyed it. I don't care how cute they are. I do not like it. I find it very stressful, and it's something that I cannot wait until it's over. But that sort of time between tiny puppy, now when I say tiny puppy, I'm talking puppies up to like, when you're still counting in weeks, so like up to 20 weeks, and you're still trying to like potty train them and, you know, get the basics down. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. And I am much better with older dogs that need training. And because we got Mist and Jock, they were a little bit older, that really suited me. And I found it really easy. So Pip's working really well for me. I'm really pleased with her, and she's quite, I was going to say chilled out. Chilled out is not the right phrase because I don't think she'll ever be chilled out. But she is a lot better than she was. So I'm actually going to enjoy spending a little bit of time laughing at how frustrated Mr. Jem's going to get trying to get her to do things, because I know to begin with she is not going to do as she's told when he takes her out. I know that. So yeah, I'm kind of in a sort of sick way. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Is that wrong? Does that make me a bad person? But he comes in the house, and you know, I've had her all day, and especially when we went through the tiny puppy stage, and you know, he would say, well, how have you got on with her today? And I'd be like, oh, she did this and shit, and he just keeps saying to me, he's like, you're not strict enough with her. And that is something that I am very strict with my dogs, very, very strict, and it's why they're so well behaved in public. And he just thinks that, you know, oh, you're not doing it right. And I am just waiting, and I cannot wait until he starts coming in complaining when she's not doing as she's told, and I'm just going to say, oh, you're too soft with her. You're not disciplining her right. So that's going to totally rub him up the wrong way, but it's just a bit of fun for me, really. Oh wow, simple things, right enough. To be fair, Mr. Jem and I don't wind each other up very often. We're not, you know, unless it's really light-hearted, but sometimes it's fun to push each other's buttons, because we know we're not really, you know, we don't mean it really. But yeah, I just hate how I get to do the crappy stuff, like when it comes to the dogs. You know, I get to do all the crappy stuff like the potty training and the lead training and all the basic commands, and then Mr. Jem gets to have all the fun out in the field with them for a little while, and then I get them back when they get to retirement age and they're old and stiff and creaky. And then they get to be grumpy with me. Okay, we're actually moving around fairly quickly here. I'm just gonna zoom out. I want to show you something just quickly. I notice how I did say this, if any of you've watched the previous parts of this, I did say that I knew my circles were off centre because I had more left on this side than I did on this side. But when I actually look at it, it's actually his drawings. If you take the width of his drawings there and move it across, it is much narrower on this side than this side. So I was going to try and compensate for that, but I've decided not to do it. It is going to look off centre, and that might not be aesthetically pleasing, but if I narrow down this blue section too much, it's just going to get lost when we get to here, and there's no point in doing that. So I've decided not to try and correct that in any way. Now, if you are following along, this might be a good point to stop and decide whether you do want to correct that. You could make this blue section slightly skinnier and just have like a whisper of purple down this outside, but I think that's really down to preference and how you think the aesthetics of it are going to look. So it's just something to think about, and maybe I should have mentioned it earlier, so I apologise for not mentioning it earlier, but I did say that was the case and that I wasn't bothered about it, so it is up to your good selves. So the likes of here, my pencil line is roughly, I don't know how well you can see that, but it is sort of on the cusp of this. So I might just sort of cut this kind of tower piece in half and have half of it in the blues, and then we can maybe squeeze in a little bit of purple there and see how it goes. I'm just looking around to do a dog check. My whole life is revolving around these dogs just now. But I'm more concerned about Woo in her ear because I don't want Pip bumping her ear in case it makes it bleed again. And the thing is as well, bless her, like she doesn't mean to be obnoxious. Like she's not. Yeah, someone had messaged me and said they had collies, and you guys that have had collies or know someone that's got a collie, you'll understand. And the person said, and I'm sorry I can't remember your name or who it was, but they said like when your dog comes to give you cuddles, it's like being assaulted. That is the only way I can describe it. But in our house we call it ambushed. When you come in through in the morning, you know, once you've been up out of bed and got yourself sorted, when we go through to see the dogs in the morning, she just like descends on you, and if you are not entirely awake, that's the first problem. I keep jumping between these pencils, I can't make my mind up. And it's the same when she's playing with the other dogs as well, and I can see it with Jock being really timid. He tends to sort of shy away, but when I watch Pip, if she has a toy, she is taking the toy to Jock because she wants Jock to play with her, so she is presenting the toy to him by going up to him and sticking it in his face. And when a dog comes towards Jock like that, his automatic reaction is to back away. But the thing is, Jock really likes to play. He does like to play, but he can't see that that's Pip's way of trying to play with him. So I kind of have to act as a mediator sometimes and say to him, look, no, it's all right, look. And then he kind of gets the gist of it and he's like, oh, okay. So the combination of that is just not good at all in this house. But it's really funny to watch. But she is a friendly dog, but she hasn't learned decorum yet. But, oh God, ever the entertainment. And people wonder why I like to get out, and that's the first thing Mr. Jem will say to me if he has a very rare day off, and he'll say that, you know, I will take the dogs OUT. Do you want to go somewhere? Meaning, do I want to go on my own so that I can get away from the dogs for a little while? And I usually jump at the chance of that because there's very, very rarely I am away without at least having one of them with me. When I go to visit my family at home over on the West Coast, I'm kind of like split about it because it's really nice to go and not have any of them with me because it's quite liberating. But after a day or so, in fact I do it all the time, I'm constantly looking around for them because I'm so used to them being with me, and I find it very strange if they're not. And after a few days I do start to miss them. When we went on our honeymoon to Mauritius, it only took about 3 days, and I said to Mr. Jem, I says, I'm actually missing the dogs, which was weird considering, you know, I'm with them all the time, but I suppose that might be a reason why I was missing them. And I was actually looking forward to coming home after 2 weeks and seeing the pooches, so yeah. But it is nice to not have to deal with them. So yesterday though, after all the incidents and stuff, I said to Mr. Jem last night, because there was a lot going on yesterday. Pip was misbehaving and one thing and another, and I said to him, I said, now I understand how a mother with like 3 toddlers feels on a daily basis. I was frazzled. I was just frazzled. I just said to him, I was like, I just want to sit down with a beer in my pyjamas and like in peace by myself with no one else around. Oh dear. I didn't do it though. I kind of wish I had now. Right, this guy doesn't have any eyes either. Let's pop these in here. He looks kind of upset, that little dude. Right, I've got this cloud part here. And I kind of think because I've used a pale colour here, I want to use a pale colour again. I don't want it to be wishy-washy though. I think I'll do what I did before, and yeah, down here with the, I'm pointing in, you can't see it. You know, I made this quite dark at the base of the volcano. I think I'm going to do the same with this one up here. I really want to change the subject and talk about something else, and Pip has just wiggled her way under the desk in the cave. Now she's like proper collie size now. She's not small anymore, and she's squeezed in underneath, and she's now sitting facing me, and she's got her chin in her lap, and all I can see is her eyes just peering up at me from under the desk. Ah! And that's because it's nearly time to go for a W-A-L-K. The word that cannot be spoken. We have realised as well that Wu can spell the word. She's sleeping. Okay, I'm going to try it. She can spell B-I-S-C-U-I-T-S. You can't say that word or spell it out because she knows, and that she just, yeah. And I'm not happy about dogs that can spell. My mum's Canadian friend, her best friend, has a collie also, and her name is Sky, and she's a really big collie, but she has come from more of a pet breeding line. You know, she's a much bigger built dog, and she would never be used as a sheepdog, but her nature is just amazing. She is the most beautiful dog. She is so soft, and Sky can spell the word beach, because that's where she gets taken on most of her W-A-L-Ks. Got to remember I can't say that either. And all you have to say to Sky is, Sky, are we going to the bee? And her ears like sort of prick up. And it's just because my mum's friend and her husband have been spelling the word out for so long that she's clocked on to what it is. So you can't say the word beach, and you can't spell the word beach in front of Sky, because it makes her think that she's going for I nearly said it there, a W-A-L-K, and it is really funny, because even if you say things like, oh, there's a bee in the window, as in, you know, one of the buzzy ones that flies, her ears start to perk up and she thinks she's going somewhere. It's such a shame. But she's adorable. I love her. She's so cuddly. I don't know what's going on with this guy. Like, what is he? What even is this guy? I'm going to start, like, I can't keep naming things. I normally give, like, people names to things when I'm colouring, but I can't do it with all these Kerby guys. And it wouldn't be right to give them people names, because they're too funky to have people names, I think, anyway. So one of the other videos that I've filmed, I'm just trying to think if it's going to come before or after this. I think it's before, so again, if you watch all my videos, you'll have seen it by now. But obviously I film quite far in front, and I've just filmed a video the other day on some masking fluid techniques, and one of the things that I did in that video was I painted an eye, and it's the first time I've painted something, and I've been really pleased with how it turned out, because I'm not a painter. And I never mentioned it in the video, and I haven't mentioned it anywhere else because I think by now I will have put it on Instagram, like when the video comes out. This is getting really complicated, so this is like future me. But that eye that I painted, I have never painted any part of the human anatomy before, and I just painted that eye sort of like by the seat of my pants, and I was really pleased with how it turned out. So it's kind of propped up in the cave for now. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, if anything, but it's the first time since I started painting with watercolour that I've felt that I've accomplished something proper. Does that sound stupid? I'm going to have to move this camera a bit, guys. Sorry. I don't want any of you feeling seasick. Yeah, so yeah, I had like quite a sense of achievement from that. And it's the first time I've followed some tutorials, and the other painting that I have done has been either very, very basic, or it's been drills, you know, like practicing creating washes and things like that. So it's the first time I've really felt that I might be actually getting somewhere. But it's one of those situations where it's, you know, when you're learning a new skill. I think I only did the first watercolour in like the beginning of the year. I think it wasn't even January. I'd have to look. But yeah, so it's you know, you can't expect miracles overnight, but I've just felt as if I've been messing about with these paints and one thing and another, and just not really like making a job of it at any point. So that was actually quite nice, and I quite enjoyed it. It was kind of fun playing with the masking fluid as well. In fact, I'll put a link in the description and on the end card, and I'm just going to write that down right now because I'll totally forget about that. But if you guys haven't watched that video, it's not just me peeling masking fluid off a piece of paper. I do actually like do stuff in it. So if you haven't seen that and you fancy it, and it's always good to watch me do things like that because it normally goes wrong. It didn't, spoiler, it didn't really go wrong this time, but it didn't exactly go right either. Do we think this part's attached to this cat? I think this part, maybe, I'm going to make it really dark and pretend it's like the cat's underbelly, even if it's not. It is now. It's just so weird looking. Yeah, someone else commented on the last video as well. I think it might have been Susan. If it's not Susan, I'm sorry, but someone had said that I was deliberating over this down the bottom and I thought it was a cat, and she thinks it might be a fox. I don't know. It's got a very cat-like face, though. I wouldn't say that that's more of a canine shaped face, but I would go for a fox. I mean, that could easily pass for a fox. The same way as Daria, my turquoise rope could be an anemone or a rope. Doesn't matter what colour it is. That made me laugh a lot. This is like one of my favourite things about YouTube is you guys are like, you've obviously got a gauge of my sense of humour now, and you know, I'm getting to know you guys as well, and you genuinely, like, you make me laugh. You really, really do. Some of your comments have been hilarious, and Mr. Jem frequently says to me, because I like to catch up on my comments and, you know, do a bit of replying, and he'll always say to me, "What are you laughing at?" And I'm just like, "You wouldn't find it funny, so never mind." And he's like, no, tell me. And then I tell him, and he just looks at me, and I say to him, "I told you you wouldn't find it funny." It's like, I've got in jokes with my cavers. You're not going to find it funny. I think he feels a bit left out. I don't know. But it's just, you know, sometimes he looks at me as if I've got horns growing out my head. And I was like, "You wouldn't understand." It's like the process not red and false green. He says, I don't understand why you find that funny. And I'm like, because it's a colouring joke. Like, how are you going to find a colouring joke funny? Obviously you're not. And he just kind of like shrugs his shoulders. But yeah, that is my favourite thing about having the channel. It's just so nice. It really is. It's so nice. I also got, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention this. I'm not going to mention the person by name just in case, because this wasn't discussed. But I got a really nice letter in my PO box the other day. And I'm going to show you the envelope just because I love it. I don't even know where it is, but I'm going to go and get it. This is the envelope, and I just absolutely love it. It is so cute. And the contents inside were just as cute as well. This person sent me tea. How awesome is that? So thank you, person, because you know who you are. and it's my favourite thing that I've got in my P.O. box so far. And yeah, so that was good fun too. I love getting letters, I really do, and I was really excited. I've had a couple of packages, one of which was from from a family member, and I wasn't excited about that at all. But that little letter was just awesome because I love getting mail. I really love getting mail. And I love it even more when I don't know what it is, which is why I like having the scroller box so much, because I'm a little bit excited about what might be inside. So yeah, thank you to person who you know who you are. I made my day. It's the little things in life that make me happy. Like when Mr. Jem comes home, if he's been away all day, which he quite frequently has to do for, oh no, I think that's part of the bottle, too late now. And he'll come back and he'll say to me, I got you a surprise. I don't care what the surprise, I don't actually care what it is. It's the fact that he's taken the time to think about me during the day and he has brought me something back. And I love it when he does that. And it doesn't matter whether it's like a yogurt bar or a bunch of flowers or a bottle of beer. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that he's, you know, it's the thought that's gone into it. And that's why I appreciated that letter so much, because this person has clearly put a lot of thought into it before they sent it, and it was just lovely. And also you gave me tea. I love tea. So I did say I was going to save the tea and I was going to use it in one of my Chatorial videos, but it is quite late in the afternoon now, so I am on the old diluting juice, which isn't very exciting, but it helps me with my headache situation, so that's good. I'm trying to kind of match up the blues with this turquoise, which is not the easiest thing to do, but that paler colour seems to want to blend a bit better. This other this was the cobalt turquoise down here, and I don't think I'm going to have anything that's going to jive well with it, so I'm just gonna go for it. Again, as long as there isn't like an immediate harsh line between one and the other, your blending doesn't have to be anything spectacular. I said this before, it's a really busy picture and it's more the overall impact that we're going for than trying to get these seamless blends in between, you know, each teeny weeny little part. So that is something to bear in mind when you're working your way around if you're going to colour this picture. I felt so sad as well. Someone else commented, and again, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was. I'm getting quite a lot of messages now, see, between all the social media, and sometimes I get things mixed up, and it's not that I'm not reading them, it's just that I've seen so many that I can't remember who said what. But someone said to me they wished they hadn't started this page because they found this video after they'd already made a start on it, and that made me so sad. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, but I did say I hope you can use it in, you know, like another page, because this is the kind of technique that will work on any page and it suits very, very busy pages. So I really hope that you can do that, but it's such a shame when that happens, and I've had it happen to myself as well. It was a page in Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford, and some of you will know that was the first ever colouring book that I had, and it's kind of been like my colouring journey. And I got a really good idea for a page, and it was from watching someone else. It wasn't what they were doing, but do you know that way it sparked something, and I thought, oh damn, I wish I had used that on this page. And I kind of wished that I hadn't coloured that page, and it was one of the ones that I'd coloured very, very early on, so the skill level in that picture wasn't great anyway, and it made me kind of sad. But I thought, no, I'll save that. I'll just put it in my ideas bank, and maybe I can bring it out in, you know, in another page in the same book. So I totally understand that feeling, and you just think to yourself sometimes, damn it, oh, that would have looked really good. But just hold on to it. You will be able to use it somewhere else. I have a funny feeling it was Diane that said that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I do really, really do my best. And 9 times out of 10, although I have a terrible memory, I do have to write everything down. But I'm usually not too bad. See, if I meet someone especially, I will never forget you. If I ever meet you, I will never forget you. I might not be able to remember your name eventually, but I will never forget you as a person. And I have tried really hard, and especially now that, there's people that have been kicking about for a year or so, I do know them and I know things about them, and if someone was to say their screen name to me, I would be able to say, oh, they like cats, or, they live in such and such, or they like to shoot liquid out through their nose when they're watching my videos. So that there is that sort of nice part of it, but I don't want people to think that I'm being ignorant or ignoring them, or that I'm not paying attention to them because I can't remember the name of the person that left a comment. But funnily enough, I remember the comments, so please don't be offended. And it's something that I actually stress out about, and it's something that since the channel's got a little bit bigger, I would say since we got to maybe 1,000 subscribers, it's something that I'm starting to struggle with a bit more. And I have to keep reminding myself that it's not something that I need to get anxious about, because it's going to happen. I'm never going to be able to remember every single person and every single comment. It's very unrealistic for me to tell myself that I should do that. But that is part of me as a person, and things like that do stress me out. So please don't think that I'm not grateful or that I'm not seeing your comments. It's just that there's quite a few now. So yeah, okay. That's actually making me really anxious talking about it. I can feel like my heart speeding up, and I can feel my speech speeding up. Right, it's fine. Keep colouring. I think I've coloured that wrong as well. I don't even know what's going on behind here. I kind of thought that was like part of the mast. Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to leave it like that. Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. So yeah, it's stupid things like that make me anxious, and that's what makes me identify that it is just anxiety and that there isn't actually something fundamentally wrong with what's going on. And I'm really glad that I am able to identify that as a person, and I do simmer down eventually. But if anybody has ever struggled with stuff like that, you know that your mind just runs away with you, and before you know where you are, you're a sweaty, hyperventilating mess for absolutely no reason, and it makes you feel worse because you feel like an idiot, because you know that actually nobody's going to die. So there you go. The dentist said to me about we're talking about mental health, because I am a very open person when it comes to, I don't walk about going, oh, look at me, I've got this, I don't mean like that. But if someone asks me about it, I will give them a very direct answer, and I don't hide it. If I'm not good, I'm not good, and I will tell people I'm not feeling so good today. That's it. But with the dentist, one of the first things, if I am having a really bad episode, and for me the worst time is sort of February to April, that is usually when I feel at my lowest. And one of the first things that I abandon is my personal hygiene. Now that sounds horrendous, but when you are in a really, really dark place, you have to prioritise the things in your life, because it's difficult to get through the morning, let alone an entire day, let alone the 2 or 3 months that you're going to be feeling like that. And I have learned to prioritise what's important, and for me, priorities are making sure that my dogs are looked after. That is really, really important. Making sure that my husband has something to eat when he's been out working for 18 hours in a day, and to make sure that I get all my work done, because I am relied upon for that and I am contractually obliged to do it. Everything else comes after that, and if I can get through that and do the other things, then that is a bonus. And that is the way that I look at every single day when I am really, really, in a really dark place. So things like washing, bearing in mind that I work from home, I barely see another soul from one day to the next, apart from Mr. Jem. And teeth brushing, and this is why I was having the conversation with the dentist. And I said to her, because she said to me, she says, how have you been? And she knows about my situation. And my last checkup was obviously just after this period where normally I'm not too good. And she said to me, how have you been? And I said to her, brushing my teeth have not been great. I've been trying my hardest and I've been managing like once every second day or so, but I've been like forcing myself to do it. Now there will be people that are watching this that will be horrified by the fact that I've only brushed my teeth every other day, and if you look at my teeth though, which I'm sure some of you have, and I'm sure someone commented on them at some point as well, I have very good teeth, and when I am feeling myself, when I'm back to normal, I take extra care of my teeth because of it, and I am very careful with my teeth. I am in my mid-30s and I don't have a filling. So, but I'm digressing. I'm wandering away off on a tangent here. The point of what I was trying to say there was that things like your personal hygiene and your gum and teeth health are not things that people automatically associate with anxiety, depression, stress. And these things are very, very real, and people, unless they have been there themselves, now most people have suffered depression or will suffer depression at some point in their life, whether it's because of a death in the family or something traumatic happens, but most people go through it at some point, and with some people it's more severe than others. But if you haven't experienced it, hearing someone say to you, oh, I haven't brushed my teeth today, some people genuinely are horrified by that and judge you for that. And I'm just of the mindset that it's important that people that haven't experienced that sort of mental health should understand that that's the kind of things that it does to you, because there may be a point where you have to not look after, but you may have to support someone that is having those problems, and if you have a bit of a better understanding, then it's going to go much better for everyone. So yeah, that's something to think about. If anybody has gone through something like that and wants to share, I would be more than happy to hear your take on that, or maybe if there's anybody else that doesn't brush their teeth either when they're really depressed. For me this time it was only maybe 2 or 3 weeks where I did that, and then I kind of forced myself to do it, and it was like, it's just one of those things. But when you're feeling that way, everything is very overwhelming, and when I'm like that, I write myself a list in the morning. So it's like, right, these are my goals for today. If I only get this stuff done today, that's going to be a good day, and that's the way I look at it. So I started adding brushing my teeth to that list, even though the list was long already, and it seemed especially hard and long because I wasn't feeling myself. But I forced myself to do it because you only get one set of teeth, don't you? And yeah, so, but it's one of those things that's really, really hard, because by the time you have got through all these other responsibilities, you're exhausted. You are absolutely exhausted. And if you have any sort of insomnia teamed with that sort of depressive state, which, I mean, I have insomnia anyway, there's no beans left in the can, there's nothing there. So it's yeah. But then I find as well though that at the opposite end of the scale, I'm just trying to decide what to do with this wing. When I am feeling good, like now, I am absolutely 100% full of beans, and I'm like hyper productive. I can get so much done in a day, and I'm really satisfied by that. Like I get a real sense of self-satisfaction out of getting stuff done. I'm a doer. I like to do stuff. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts, and I just always try and tell myself that I will probably be stuck with these sort of mental health states for the rest of my life, just because of what's happened to me and the way that I am as a person. But just because that is the case doesn't mean that it's all doom and gloom, because I will come out of it. It is episodic. Excuse me, it is episodic, and the good times far outweigh the bad, especially now that I have learned to, I've got coping mechanisms in place that make these bad episodes much more manageable. It's like when I don't sleep, I go through maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 months and I sleep reasonably well. Now, a good night's sleep for me is maybe 5 hours. That if I can sleep 5 hours you know, consecutively, then that is a good night's sleep for me. And I can do that for a couple of months and everything's great and I've got loads of energy. And then I just hit a period of maybe 2 or 3 weeks where I do not sleep at all. I can't get to sleep, and then when I do get to sleep, I wake up and then I can't get back to sleep. So yeah, it's and I try not to worry about that, because if you worry about it, you are less likely to be able to sleep. And I just think to myself, well, it'll be okay, because I know eventually that everything will go back to normal, and I'll, you know, in a couple of weeks I'll be sleeping fine again. So just, and if I'm not tired, I don't go to bed. It's as simple as that. So there you go. I'm just looking down here. I don't know whether I should be doing this. These, yeah, I think I need to be, because I was kind of thinking I could maybe make them a little bit purple. But no, I want less purple on this side, don't I? Because this is the skinny side on this side. So yeah, I'm just glad that my mental health is good most of the time, because I know there's a lot of people's whose isn't, and it's very, very hard to deal with. But I am lucky in that it's not all of the time, but it rears its ugly head and it, you know, it makes itself known. Right, there we go. I finished off that a little bit now. Yeah, but it's taken me a long time to get to this point. It's taken me over 10 years, but I don't take any medication or anything like that. I just have other ways of dealing with it. Right, let's have a little look here. Oh, yay! I can see down the bottom that my blue is a little bit uneven. It's quite a bit wider down here than it is, say, over here, but that's okay. And you can see how nicely everything's just sort of melting into each other, and the blue violet doesn't actually look too purplish at this stage, which is really good, because it doesn't stick out in the blue section that we've done. But by the same token, it's going to really help when we move into this purple section next time. It's just going to help tie it in a bit more. So yeah, good job. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed my ramblings today. That was a bit intense today, I'm sorry. I'll make next times a bit more relaxed, shall I? But I am going to go now, and I'm going to edit this video down afterwards. I've got to go and do the scroller box unboxing, which you'll already have seen by now. So I'm going to get moving and go and do that so that I can take my dogs out for a W8 LK after that. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.